Before I ever built a seven-figure recruiting agency, I noticed something strange. Every top performer in the business seemed to act the same way, and not in a good way. They weren't better at research, they weren't better at execution, they were better at pretending. They called it relationship building, and I called it professional flattery. They made friends on purpose. They gave gifts disguised as goodwill. They became personal assistants to hiring managers with corporate credit cards, lunches, coffee, sports tickets, holiday baskets, anything that looked like connection. And it wasn't selling, it was sucking up. Everyone said it was the secret, right? The rule that this business lives and dies by relationships. And for a while, I believed them until I realized what that really meant. It meant your success was chained to how much fake friendship you could afford, how much time you could waste convincing people you cared about them personally when all you cared about was a signed agreement. And that's when it clicked. If you have to act like a friend to win business, you actually don't have a business. You have a popularity contest with invoices. So people mistake familiarity for trust, but familiarity only lasts as long as you keep showing up with gifts. Trust built on free coffee evaporates when someone else buys the next round. And that's the flaw, okay? It's not a system. It's dependency dressed up as loyalty. And you can't scale dependency. So the reason so many recruiters burn out is simple. Their relationships only work when they personally maintain them. They can't take a week off. They can't delegate. They can't grow because the product isn't their process. The product is them. Take them out of the room and the magic disappears. And that's not a company. That's a hostage situation. So when people brag about being like top billers, ask them how. Ask them what they did differently. Most will lower their voice and talk about relationships. And here's what they won't tell you. They never built an advantage. They built obligation. They exploited reciprocity bias. Do enough favors and the client feels guilty enough to buy. It works once. And then you have to start over. And the reason those top performers are always exhausted is because they're rebuilding trust from scratch every quarter. They can't compound their wins. They can only repeat them. That's not mastery. That's maintenance. Relationship-based recruiting survives because it's easy to teach. It gives every trainer, every manager, and every guru a convenient script. Just build more relationships. It sounds actionable. It feels safe. It's impossible to disprove. If you fail, they'll just say, well, you didn't network hard enough. And if you succeed, they say, the relationship's paid off. Either way, the myth wins. It keeps new recruiters busy without making them powerful. It keeps agency owners dependent on charismatic rainmakers, and it keeps the entire industry fragile. Because if every placement depends on someone being liked, then, no one can ever leave. No one can sell their firm. No one can scale. The system feeds on itself, and that's why I stopped feeding it. So one afternoon, I was watching a recruiter brag about closing a deal after 6 months of relationship nurturing. And he looked proud. He'd spent more on dinners than he earned on the placement. He called it investment, and I called it charity. And that's when I made a rule. If my business model requires bribery, I will find another model. And that's what I did. I stopped buying lunches. I stopped buying gifts. I stopped pretending. And the moment I did, something surprising happened. Nothing fell apart. The world did not end. Clients did not vanish. The ones who stayed didn't care about dinners. They cared about delivery. They cared that we were fast, precise, and consistent. They cared that we made them look good internally. That's when I realized something obvious that somehow no one else had said out loud. Competence creates better relationships than charm ever could. Charm is exciting. Competence is kind of quiet. And that's why most recruiters ignore it. Charm gives instant feedback. Smile, compliment, handshake, laugh, you feel progress. Competence gives silence, no applause for a well-built process, but silence scales. Because once your process works, it works whether you're in the room or not. Charm dies when you leave. Process lives. That's the real dividing line between freelancers and founders. Freelancers chase charm. Founders engineer process. One lives on approval, the other lives on proof. And proof wins longer than approval ever will. So let's put numbers to it. Say you can manage like 25 meaningful relationships. That's your bandwidth. Each one needs regular maintenance, calls, check-ins, small talk. That's like hours every week. Now imagine you grow. You hire a recruiter. They need their own 25, but their relationships aren't your relationships, right? You can't transfer them. You can't sell them. You can't even borrow them. So now your firm's value is locked inside human memory, names, lunches, and favors. If one recruiter leaves, half your revenue leaves with them. That's the hidden cost of the relationship model. It makes growth look dangerous. There's nothing left over to buy. The very thing that's supposed to give you security is what makes your business fragile. So why do smart people cling to something so broken? Because relationships feel human and nobody wants to admit that they're replaceable. When you tell a recruiter the relationships don't matter, they hear that you don't matter. And that's not true, but it feels true to them. We all want to believe we're indispensable, that our charm is magic, that our clients love us uniquely. But business doesn't run on emotion. It runs on repeatability. The goal isn't to be irreplaceable. The goal is to build something that doesn't require replacing at all. And that's scale. And scale doesn't care how likable you are. If relationships actually worked the way everyone claims, the best networkers would be the richest people in the industry, but they're not. So look around. How many recruiters have been, well connected for decades, but they still live month to month? How many relationship masters are still chasing new clients because the old ones never stick? If relationships were equity, they'd be rich, but they're not, because relationships age and they fade. They get replaced the moment a cheaper vendor sends the same candidate faster. The loyalty you think you own is just convenience wearing makeup. And once convenience disappears, so does the client. So trust isn't built by proximity. It's built by precision. When a client sees that you understand their business better than they do, they're going to trust you. When you communicate clearly, document everything, and deliver early, they trust you. No steak dinner required. That's the irony. The same people preaching relationships are missing the one relationship that actually matters, the one between value and consistency. You can't be everyone's friend. You can be everyone's solution, and that is a lot stronger. So here's the uncomfortable conclusion. Relationship-based recruiting isn't just outdated. It's unscalable, uneconomic, and unsellable. It traps founders in their own networks. It turns recruiters into performers. It rewards small thinking. The market has evolved. Clients don't want charm. They want certainty. They want systems that deliver. They want data they can defend to their CFOs. They're not buying friendships anymore. They're buying confidence. And confidence just doesn't come from dinner invitations. It comes from differentiation. And that's what replaces relationships. So in the next part, we're going to look at what that differentiation actually means, how it works in practice, and why once you understand it, you'll never chase another relationship again. So the shift to differentiation and proof. Differentiation is the new relationship, but most recruiters don't understand what that means. They think differentiation means branding. like maybe a nicer logo, a new slogan, a few brag lines on LinkedIn. That's not differentiation. That's decoration. Differentiation means the market sees you as the only rational choice, not the cheapest, not the friendliest, the most obviously right. It's the moment a client stops comparing you to anyone else because no one else fits the category anymore. That's when you win without selling. That's when you stop begging for meetings and start managing demand. So it's not mystical, okay? It's mechanical. It starts with focus, a narrow market, a specific pain, a measurable promise. The smaller the target, the bigger the impact. Pick one kind of company, pick one kind of role, pick one kind of problem, and then become the best in the world at solving that problem. You can't be the best recruiter. That title is imaginary, but you can be the best solution for one recurring pain. That's the difference between a name in someone's inbox and a name that gets forwarded. Proof beats persuasion. Every client has been lied to. Every hiring manager has heard the same pitch. We're consultative. We build relationships. We're not like the other agencies. We listen more. We have a better whatever. We build better relationships with our candidates. We have better candidates. They've heard it all. So when you show up with another speech, they're just going to tune out. But when you show up with evidence, that's when they listen. Show them numbers, show them process, show them inventory, show them what happens after the placement. Show them that you understand not just recruiting, but revenue. Because at the end of the day, clients don't hire recruiters. They hire revenue insurance. They hire a more cost-effective solution. They're not finding people. They're preventing losses. And when you can articulate that difference, you stop sounding like a vendor. You start sounding like a partner. Credibility is built on 3 pillars. Number 1 is competence. Number 2 is consistency. Number 3 is clarity. That's it, okay? You don't need friendship when you have all 3 of those. Competence is doing the job right. Consistency is doing it the same way every time. Clarity is making sure everyone sees it. You can build those pillars once and they hold forever. They're immune to takeover. They don't care about personality. They don't age out. They are infrastructure. And infrastructure scales. Old school recruiters measure success by volume. How many calls, how many meetings, how many touches. They treat client development like cardio. If you stop running, you die. But volume is what you do when you have no value. When your value is clear, you don't chase, you attract. Because clients with real pain always look for the clearest fix. Not the friendliest, not the loudest, the clearest. Value creates gravity, and gravity doesn't need reminders. Let's talk about warmth, the most overrated metric in business development. You don't need warmth. What you need is weight. Warmth makes people like you. Weight makes them respect you. Warmth opens doors. Weight keeps them open. When you speak with weight, you don't have to repeat yourself. You don't have to send follow-ups that sound like apologies. You make your point once and it sticks. That's what process gives you. It gives you weight. That's what proof gives you. It gives you permanence. And when you have both, clients chase you. Ironically, when you stop performing relationships, you finally sound human again. Because authenticity doesn't survive strategy. You can't plan to be genuine. Every relationship building tactic kills authenticity by design. Once you script it, it's gone. But when you show up with clarity, calmness, and results, people trust you naturally. They see the pattern and they relax. Process is what gives your communication personality because it gives rhythm. It's the rhythm of predictability, and predictability is what people crave the most. So while everyone else is networking, you'll be working. While they're out at lunch, you'll be building. When they're chasing opportunities, you'll be engineering inevitabilities. That's the quiet advantage of process. No one sees it until it's too late. And by the time they notice, you've already built the machine. And machines don't get tired. They don't need approval. They don't forget to follow up. They don't wake up in a bad mood. They just execute. And that's what scares the old guard most. They can't compete with execution. They only know how to compete with charm. And charm fades, and execution compounds. Here's the loop you want to build. Proof, performance, pipeline, proof. So every successful project becomes evidence. Every piece of evidence fuels the next project. Every new project produces more proof. It's exponential. That's how you replace relationships with results. And when you operate in that loop, clients don't need you to be their buddy. They need you to be available because they already know that you deliver. So if this feels uncomfortable, that's normal. You've been trained to measure worth by attention. You think silence means something's wrong, but it doesn't. It means your system is working. Clients don't talk much when everything's running smoothly, and that's good. The noise is gone. The chaos is gone. You're left with calm. And calm is what scale feels like. The best agencies don't buzz, they hum. They're not hustling for validation, they're operating on proof. Every industry hits a tipping point, a moment when competence outpaces charm. Recruiting has already reached it. We're living through it right now. AI, automation, data, every tool that removes friction also removes excuses. Clients don't need friends. They need frictionless results. They need partners who understand speed, precision, positioning. That's what kills relationship-based recruiting. Technology didn't replace you, it just exposed you. It exposed who had systems and who had smiles. And only one of those can survive a market correction. So stop asking how to get clients. Start asking why clients should choose you. That's the question relationships were hiding from you. Because if the only answer is because they like me, you're in trouble. You are in trouble. But if the answer is because my process makes them money, you are untouchable. Clients will forgive anything except incompetence. They'll replace anyone except certainty. So be certain. In the next part, we're going to break down the architecture of that certainty, the infrastructure that turns proof into predictability and predictability into scale. So let's talk about the infrastructure of scale. You just can't scale personality, but you can scale structure. Okay, structure turns reputation into a repeatable product. It's what separates a clever recruiter from a real business. Most recruiters build on enthusiasm. They get busy, they get lucky, then they drown. Because they never built infrastructure, they built momentum, but momentum eventually fades and infrastructure compounds. Here's what you need. You're gonna need 4 things, okay? You're gonna need a positioning system, a data system, a delivery system, and a feedback system. That's what you need. When those 4 connect, you stop improvising and you start engineering. So number 1 is your positioning system. Your positioning system is how the market recognizes you. It's your category, it's your claim, it's your language. Without it, every conversation starts from zero. You shouldn't have to explain who you are on every call. They should already know. Positioning is what tells them. It's what makes the right clients feel seen and the wrong ones feel unqualified. If your message doesn't do both, it's noise. You can build positioning once and use it forever. You can train people on it. You can copy and paste it. You can scale it. That's why it replaces relationships. It doesn't require memory. It requires clarity. Number 2 is the data system. So data is how you stop guessing. Okay, most recruiters run on anecdotes. They feel like the market is hot. They think a client type is better. Data doesn't care what you feel. A real data system tells you who's hiring, what they're paying, where the pain is. It tells you when the demand spikes and when it dies. It shows you which campaigns work. and which waste money. That's how you compound intelligence. That's how you build advantage. Every recruiter says they have market knowledge. Few can prove it. Prove it, collect it, store it, use it. Because data is a relationship that never forgets your name. 3 is the delivery system. This is where most agencies fail. They think delivery means find candidates, but delivery means remove pain. It's not enough to fill roles. You have to fill them the same way every time. Consistency beats heroics. Anyone can pull off a miracle once. A business can do it on command. That means documented workflow, templates, benchmarks, handoffs that make sense. Delivery is where competence turns into proof. When your delivery system works, you can sell confidently. You can scale without fear. You can promise results because you know the machine delivers. That's credibility. That's leverage. And that's what clients actually pay for. Number 4 is the feedback system. So most recruiters don't listen. They assume. They defend. Feedback is the part that hurts, but saves you. Every placement, every meeting, every rejection produces data. Collect it, study it, refine. Feedback keeps arrogance in check. It forces evolution. Without feedback, your infrastructure becomes ritual. With feedback, it becomes rhythm. People think process limits freedom, but it's the opposite. Process gives you freedom from memory, freedom from chaos, freedom from your own mood. When you can trust the system, you can think again. You can step back. You can lead. You're not just reacting to fires. You're designing fireproofing. That's the moment your agency stops feeling like a treadmill and starts feeling like a company. When these systems connect, they create what's called a flywheel. Positioning drives data. Data fuels delivery. Delivery generates feedback. Feedback sharpens positioning. Round and round, faster every time. You don't push it forever. You just protect it. That's why old school recruiters can't keep up. They're pushing while you are spinning. Their motion is effort. Yours is a constant self-fueling momentum. Here's the test. If you double your clients tomorrow, do you double your stress? If yes, you don't have infrastructure. Real infrastructure absorbs growth. It doesn't amplify pain. Scale is not more. Scale is easier. Every new client should make the next one simpler to win. Every new role should make the next one faster to fill. That's how you know you are scaling. If every deal still feels like survival, you're just running faster in place. The myth says recruiting is personal, that you can't delegate relationships, and that's true, you can't, but you can delegate systems. When your value lives inside infrastructure, you can hand it off. You can hire people who execute instead of improvise. You can scale quality. That's the difference between replication and reproduction. Replication copies effort. Reproduction copies success. That's what infrastructure does. It reproduces results without diluting them. Infrastructure also builds a proof stack. You can show clients how you work, not just tell them. You can display performance metrics. You can show average fill times, retention rates, conversion rates. Proof beats persuasion every time. It's hard for a client to argue with math. It's impossible to argue with math that keeps repeating. And that's what makes the proof stack so powerful. It compounds like interest. The longer you run your system, the stronger your evidence gets. Meanwhile, your competitors are still talking about relationships, and that's why you win. Infrastructure kills luck. Okay, you don't need it anymore. Luck is what weak systems call timing, and timing is what strong systems call pattern recognition. Once you can read patterns, luck stops mattering. You can see hiring cycles before they're public. You can anticipate demand. You can act before anyone else notices. That's not magic, that is math. And math always beats memory. Building infrastructure is boring. It's repetition, documentation, refinement. That's why almost no one does it. They think boring means bad, but boring is stable. Stable is predictable. Predictable is powerful. The best agencies are boring. Their systems run quietly. Their clients never panic. Their founders sleep at night. That's success. Not adrenaline, not noise, just predictable profit. You'll know you've crossed the line when you start caring more about systems than stories. Okay, you stop saying, I just need one good client, and you start saying, I just need one better process. That's the shift. That's maturity. That's the moment your ego stops leading and your infrastructure starts speaking. Because infrastructure doesn't lie, it only reports. And reports are how you build empires. In the next part, we're going to tie it all together. The mindset that keeps you operating at this level, how to defend it from sliding back into relationship culture, and what a future built on process actually feels like. The death of relationship-based recruiting is not a theory. It's already happened. You're just seeing the afterglow right now. The old playbook is still echoing because people built their identities on it. They can't let it die without losing a part of themselves. But markets don't care about feelings. Markets evolve, and the market has decided competence beats charm, proof beats personality, systems beat smiles. So when you finally stop chasing relationships, you'll feel maybe empty for a moment, quiet, almost like something's missing. That's because the noise is gone. The dopamine is gone. You're used to this chase, right? The constant approval cycle. Now you're left with process, with math, with silence. That silence is freedom, because silence means the machine is working. Your calendar will look more boring. Your days will feel structured. Your numbers will look steady. And that steadiness is the point. Predictability is the reward for everything you used to call hustle. So when you stop chasing charm, your questions change. You stop asking, who do I know? And you start asking, what can I prove? You stop asking, who likes me? And you start asking, who needs me? You stop asking, how can I get in? And you start asking, why would they choose anyone else? The moment your brain starts asking those questions, you've crossed over. You've left the popularity contest and entered the precision business. And once you experience precision, I guarantee you will never go back. The relationship model breeds insecurity. Every deal feels fragile. Every client could disappear. Every lull feels like rejection. When your business depends on likability, you never feel safe because likability is random. You can't control chemistry, you can't control moods, you can't control people, but you can control performance, you can control systems, and you can control process. When you build your agency on performance, the insecurity ends. You stop wondering where the next client will come from. You stop checking your phone like a slot machine. You stop pretending to enjoy small talk. You just work, you deliver, and you win. Leading in this industry means you go first. You define the standard before the market does. You show clients what excellence looks like, not the other way around. When you lead, you don't beg for trust. You demonstrate it. Every touch point communicates confidence. Every process communicates authority. Every result communicates credibility. That's leadership. And leadership is magnetic. The moment you lead, you stop negotiating. Clients align to you. They adjust to your rhythm. They stop asking for discounts because your predictability is worth the premium. They stop ghosting you because your value is undeniable. You become the reference point for everyone else. That's what real authority feels like. So let's be clear. Relationships still exist, but now they are earned. They're not engineered. They grow naturally from results. They form around competence. A relationship built on value is a byproduct, not a strategy. You still get connection, but you get it without pretense. You still get loyalty, but you get it without dependency. The friendship becomes real because it's rooted in mutual respect, not this manipulation game. That's what replaces relationship-based recruiting. Relationships that actually mean something. So as you grow, you'll notice another paradox. The bigger you get, the more personal you become. Because scale creates time. It creates headspace. It's going to remove chaos. And when your systems run clean, you can slow down and you can listen again. You can be generous without fear. You can care about clients as humans, not as lifelines. That's the irony. The less you chase relationships, the more authentic they become. You're no longer performing connection. You're free to build it. So the next generation of recruiting firms won't look like agencies. They'll look like operating systems. Data-fed, process-driven, specialized by design. They'll sell outcomes, not promises. They'll measure everything. They'll optimize like engineers, not flatter like salespeople. The founders who embrace that shift will own the market. Everyone else will be stuck writing LinkedIn posts about the power of relationships. You'll see it happen. You'll see old firms slowly fade out. They'll still be talking about trust while losing clients to precision. And by the time they realize what happened, the market will have moved on. So when you build this way, growth stops being about more. It becomes about better. Better systems, better margins, and better life. You don't measure success by chaos anymore. You measure it by calm. You don't crave attention, you crave efficiency. That's when you know you've outgrown the game. When you can sit still and everything keeps moving. That's scale and that's freedom. So what is it that replaces relationship-based recruiting? Clarity, process, evidence, reputation built on execution, not expression. You replace who you know with what you deliver. You replace charm with certainty. You replace networking with engineering. You stop being a vendor. You become an operating system for results. And once you build that, no one can take it away. Not a client, not a competitor, not the economy, because systems survive what charm cannot. Charm dies in silence. Systems thrive in silence, and silence is where the real money is made. So ask yourself, if tomorrow you lost every contact, every friend, every relationship, could you rebuild your business in 30 days? If the answer is yes, that means you're free. If the answer is no, you are still trapped. You're trapped in dinners, trapped in small talk, trapped in dependency. You deserve better than that. Build the system, prove the value, let the process speak louder than your personality. That's the future. That's the revolution. That's the death of relationship-based recruiting and the birth of something infinitely stronger.